right, got the full system. Runs like a champ. Nothing can beat it. Period. Sir, what's your comment?
Awesome system.
Uh-huh.
It just rips everyone. It comes on, once you get through the first gear or two, the pressure starts building up. It just kicks in and goes.
Asking with the big machines, what have you got there, you know? And they obviously could see there was, we told them, and oh, we didn't say much about the system other than this evaluation. So it's got a lot of the hardest type of riding, period. If you can stand that. These engines aren't new by design. At a compressor there slightly. Nice day, huh?
Yep, kicking ass. I'm on top of the camper right now at Gecko Camp. As far as you can see. Right now, and I'm going to rev it up a little bit. Half brakes.
Sayonara, baby. Plus yards. Goodbye, Banshees. Uh-huh.
It just rips everyone.
Yeah, go up one more time. Talk a little bit about our revised system here and how we're going to package it downstream. This was the one that saw Stephen take a ride out in the street on. It's virtually stock. And when I say virtually, the only thing is it uses a special Honda head gasket. Increase the compression slightly. Other than that, the exhaust is stock. No porting has been done to it. It uses the 34 millimeter stock carburetor, stock jetting, and we're going to go through some of what we see is the final package. Now there's one thing. You're going to see the tape of the races at Glamis on this last Thanksgiving. And if this system was on that 300 mid-range bike, he'd be another couple of lengths ahead of what he was. That's what we see. And now we have our own package that we're going to start with. Done away with air cleaners. We have a mechanical unit right here, centrifugal compressor driven off the crankshaft. We have integrated right into here one of our electronic compressors using the Astro motor. This one is a particularly strong armature, and each system will stand by itself as its own, but as a combination you're getting more money's worth for the horsepower you're extracting out of the engine. It's a very clean package and it's bulletproof. We have no problems anywhere at this point. We haven't done an awful lot of riding and testing. We haven't even blown a fuse. Shouldn't have to, because we have full quality soldering in all of our units. This is the converter. We are now using 2 switches, so we're using 4-post plus 2 more if we wanted to. For a production unit, we'll probably have an on-off switch only, because it reduces the complexity of the switching system. And here we can read the voltage and amp output. So this is a digital diagnostic inline running with our system. And we also have another feature we're going to show you. Okay, I just turned off the check valve to the gasoline to the carburetor and just expanded a little bit out of the carburetor to show you another feature we think is important. Because it's a closed system, if you have it sitting there for some period of time, say a few days, you may want to refill the float in the carburetor or the bowl. And this is how it's done. We use a 9-volt in the system, momentary switch. Just want you to listen up. Maybe if, Stephen, you put the camera closer so you can get the sound effect. Now a system as this needs a fuel pump and needs a special type of fuel pump. It's a Honda version. Works extremely well, very reliable. And what we did is deplete some of the gasoline in the carburetor just to show you what the 9-volt battery needs to do. Is if you've been sitting there for some period of time and maybe some of the gasoline is evaporated, or you sat there for months and you need to refill the carburetor, because it is a closed system dependent on the pressure. We should be hearing a few clicks. Put the camera a little closer. It's fully primed at this point. It's to be used just for a few seconds here and there, not to prime the whole system continually, but there's enough of charge in a 9-volt battery that it should even prime it enough to get you started on your own, just with a few seconds of actuation of this momentary switch. So what we have to do is repackage, really, at this point. This is a little bit kludgy at this point, but what we're going to do is to streamline this area into another ducting arrangement. We use 3 of these. One here, and another one right here. We need to draw this away because most four-wheelers have this adjustment for the rear shock mounted up in this area, and somehow we'll have to come up with a bracket for remounting it. But so be it. And another thing we come up with is hard braided lines for the carburation right here. That's vitally important. That's the arteries, or the equivalent of the arteries in the human body. If you were to sever them, same happens here. You die instantly, because that's our lifeline. And okay, a couple of things here. Talk about ducting, air filter. We decided that it couldn't get a K&N filter similar to this, so we decided to go with a filter cut to size, and that seems to work very well. And I want to show you what we perceive downstream because of this adjustment here for the shock. It's mounted mostly in this area here. We're going to come in with 3 of these, offset this out here about another 1.5 inches, so there should be enough room there to be able to remove and put another bracket. And not only that, but this will give us all the articulation we will need. It's nice smooth flow contours on the inside, no sharp edges or anything like that. And this is how we're going to house it. Fits right in as such. It's pressed in, housed with 2 screws to retain it, to keep it from going anywhere. And so this system, what you see with advanced compressor unit, advanced electronics, the combination is totally unbeatable. There's no type of stock engine or modified engine that can do what this unit can do on any engine. Doesn't matter what exhaust system, carburation, whatnot. What we've proven here, this engine right here in stock form, okay, as a standalone unit to the electronic module, there's another thing I wanted to say. Each and every one, including this unit, has this fine filtration system here, stainless steel. And this is a 4-inch, fits right internally in that groove, perfectly in place. And the reason for that is simply there may be a nut and a washer on the propeller unit here in itself that could possibly, that'll keep any engine from ingesting anything. Just visualize, if you will, this unit removed. And this is what we're going to do in the future for standalone electronic unit. See right here? Put together, inserted in place right here with these tubes and a K&N. This is a smaller filter than most others, which is great because it gives us a reverse air plume in here that's sufficiently large. This filter will not contact the light back here at all, and we'll come up with a pair of brackets for it. And the reason for this is very simply, the smoother the flow you have, the better off you are, no matter what type of system you're running. Not only that, but downstream we may come in with, we have to test this, come in with a normally aspired situation that will benefit from what we've learned here. Maybe come in with the right amount of vacuum for the engine so it can draw the most amount of air. Say if you're using a 39mm carburetor, you'll have interchangeable modules that start in at maybe 35, 37, 39, and 40, 41, so that you can regulate and determine the best optimum aspired condition that you want. And we'll dyno test it to see how effective it is. And not only that, but we'll come in with this superstator here and this particular Astro motor. We have some ideas that racers may possibly want to use if it proves effective. Is an exhaust extractor. I won't tell you much more about it, but we will be testing it downstream. So we may have an aspirated engine that will benefit from this kind of a module that can give maybe a horse and a half extra in this, and a horse and a half extra at that end of the exhaust system. Okay, one of the last things I want to show you is from a rear end profile of relatively how narrow it is. And in spite of what you see, the overhang, there's very little weight in the system. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, as we were showing you before, this is a dual Stratocharger. We've applied for a trademark name on that. And apparently no one's used it, so we should be able to use that downstream. We have taken 1 1/4 total horsepower, crankshaft horsepower, converted 1/4 horsepower electrical energy and 1 horsepower mechanical energy, and that results in approximately 12 to 20 rear wheel horsepower addition to what you had from before, depending on the state of the motor, the type it is, and so on. Those are pretty impressive gains. Now, what I would also like to say is we've been able to convert the pressures generated to forward wind velocity. If you were to have a ram-inducted engine, as some of the Kawasaki's and Hondas are now using, this is how it would apply. Under full throttle conditions, the leftover back up pressure here converted to forward wind velocity, if you could trap it in a ducting, or if you were to use a stock stator with the appropriate Astro motor, you would get about 70 miles per hour. And if you're to use the super stator with an Astro 15 motor, you'd be getting approximately 125 miles per hour of velocity. And if you're to use a Astro Cobalt 15, you'd get approximately 145 miles per hour. Now, the mechanical mainline compressor by itself, under full throttle conditions, will generate a reserve of 300 miles per hour of forward wind velocity. Now, take that mechanical mainline drive unit with the electronic superstator, which is the dual Stratocharger system, and you'll end up with 430 to 450 miles per hour reserve pressure under full throttle conditions. That's how I can best describe it. Now, this is a continuous pressure system. It's also a lifetime system, with the exception of the brushes in the motor, and the bearings, and the armature. But now, the way this is arranged, you don't need to run the electronics all the time. So you can use it when you need to, and you should have it for many years without doing anything to it. We, under the extensive conditions, dusty, dirty, whatnot, and the hours of time we put on it, we've had no failures. They run as well now as they did when we started them. So that says something about the system. For visual reasons, here's a compressor wheel and our new mounting system. We have really done a great job on it, I think. We're mounting the tripod in a high impact plastic, very tough and very steady, and we can maintain very strict tolerance requirements. It's made on a CNC, and Bob will know that what he's looking at here are 3 air straighteners. We need that as well as the boys that fly the aircraft. So that's what we're doing. This acts as a heat sink and a very rigid member for the unit. We stopped many times along the way, took the cover off on our 2-hour rides and whatnot. You could grab that motor anytime and hold it like that without any discomfort. I'm not saying it was cold, but it wasn't hot either. How a loose mount works in a barrel. Fits right up flush, like that. And there's probably 10,000 wall separation between that and that compressor unit. I don't have one unmounted at this point. So what I'm going to do is take one here. We had a couple of spare motors along the way. We tried everything when we didn't need them. everything ran flawless like that. And for we did this for visuality, so you could see the props. Where in these units here, we're running a combination of 12 blades, 6 primary and 6 secondary, and it really worked. Screen slips on, and you can see what we're looking at right here. Can't see the rest of the blades, it's very difficult. That's